All right, guys, I think we're live and good to go here. I don't have the crazy cool intro like Tyson does over on his channel. You got the music, got the highlights and everything like that. We just click live and hope it's all pretty seamless. But Tyson, what's going on, man? One day until the NFL draft, or really not even one day.
I'm excited, dude. I'm so burnt out on mock drafts and smoke screens and speculation. Like, I'm over it. Like, I want to just sit down, relax, enjoy the draft, see what happens, let it all play out. And we made it, man. We finally made it.
Yeah, dude. Sorry, I was on mute. I was just making sure my volume is down on the YouTube tab. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's been a pretty crazy ride. Like these last 48 hours, man. Like we're seeing all these just crazy, crazy names, man. Like just popping up left and right. I mean, for months, bro, it's been Tyler Warren, it's been Armand Membu, Tyler Warren, Armand Membu. Right now, we're at the point where it's Jahdae Barron, Jalen Walker, Michael Williams, an edge rusher. Could that be Shamar Stewart, Tyler Warren, Membu? What happens if Will Campbell falls? We had Rich Cimini talking about the Ashton Jeanty possibility, and now he's on the Kelvin Banks train.
Yep.
So I don't really know what the motive is. I don't know. And by the way, shout out to everyone in the chat here hanging out, man. Hopefully everyone is pumped for tomorrow, man. I cannot freaking wait. I'm going to be live for it. Tyson, I don't know what you're up to, but of course, man, you got the always got the open invite to hop on if you want to. If not, no worries.
Bro, I'll definitely come on if you want. Like, I think last year we did that. Like, after the pick, I hopped on for a couple minutes. I'd be happy to do that. But I think the one thing that I really appreciate about the Jets this time around is there are no leaks. There are no rumors. Literally nobody knows nothing. And that was proven throughout free agency. So we try to, like, everybody's trying to do their best guess. But the Jets kind of threw me off a little bit when they said, listen, we're trying to accumulate talent. We accumulate talent first, and then we develop our scheme. So they're not pigeonholing themselves like, oh, we have to get this player. We have to get that. They want the best player for what they think is the biggest impact for their team. So that could be a lot of different things. Like I did a video on this myself where it's like, we could say right tackle is a pressing need. They could say, listen, we have a plan for that. That's not our biggest priority right now. We need, a safety corner. We need a defensive tackle. There are so different ways it can go that we don't really know. So we're assuming offense. We're assuming these things. We could be completely wrong, dude.
Yeah, man. Well, I think completely wrong is maybe it's not the best terminology because like we've watched all these games, man. Like we know where the weak points are. And to be fair, like, these are newcomers coming into the organization. So whether they love Max Mitchell or Carter Warren or someone like that, I think it's fair for a fan to say, hey, I think we still need to find that future left or that future key on the right side. But Red Flow, hey, bro, I got it's crazy because I got 8 to 9 designs done for all the merch. Like I really wanted to hook it up. I got the site and everything. I'm literally just waiting on a couple more things, and then I want to release it. But the plan was I was going to release it last year, but just during the season it was so depressing and stuff. Like you're losing. You had the Rodgers stuff, the Hackett. It was just like a mess. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything with merch. Like people are just like pissed when it comes to this team, but
that's smart though, dude, because during a lost season, like we never saw any merch on a lost season because everybody's so angry. Like I'm just glad people are watching at that point. Like I don't want you to buy a t-shirt. I'm just glad you're watching because it's like everybody's pissed off and angry. It's like, so now it's like a whole new regime. I get to buy some of your stuff too, man. So I got to rock some Jet Central stuff.
Yeah, dude, I'll send you some stuff. Steven, what's going on, man? Is Goddard still being shopped? So that's still up in the air. I would say, yeah, because of so we got that recent report that Philly is open to taking a future draft pick, which I mean, like if a team is going that far, like 2 to 3 days before they start the NFL draft, they're like, hey, we're open for a draft or a draft pick next year. I think that's pretty telling on where the organization stands with him. But I also think if they can't trade him, they could cut him because they would save 11 mil. He's not guaranteed any money to my knowledge. So
see, but he would be a candidate mid-draft to get traded, wouldn't you think? Where a team that may have the tight end need, the Jets, you go offensive tackle, you go defensive tackle round 2, like, you know what? We still need a tight end. Goddard's out there. The price is right. Compensations next year. Like, I think it's kind of like a mid, like day 2, day 3 kind of trade for Goddard, where teams are assessing what they have and don't have, and he could fit a hole there.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I think that's It's interesting if the Jets maybe miss out on tight end in the first 2 days of the
Yep,
draft and then maybe come back like kind of like how we flipped JFM last year.
exactly.
I don't think there were many Jets fans on board with that decision, but if we're just like hanging out in the middle of round 6, boom, we get a notification the Jets are acquiring Dallas Goedert for a 2026 sixth round pick. I think a lot of fans would be like, "Yo, like this is sweet! Like just a starting caliber tight end who's made big time plays in big time games and has had big time moments for a future late round pick." And we already have this like new draft class, being infused into the roster. Um, Not saying Goddard is like the perfect, end all be all, like the most amazing tight end out there. Like there's a reason why Philly wants to move off of him. But at the same time, the Jets tight end room is pretty barren. But dude, again, going back to the start of this stream, or really the whole point of this stream, let's take a look and kind of analyze some of these players that are now popping up with spot number 7 of the Jets. I mean, we've talked about Warren for months. We've talked about Membu for months. But it's looking like things are starting to get crazy, right? Jacksonville, right? What's going to happen there? 5, Genty. People are talking about Ted McMillan now. It's spot number 5. If Genty goes, do the Raiders now go ahead and take Armand Membu?
Yep.
Is that in play? Personally, I don't really like the fit all that much. Because I think their starting right tackle, DJ Glaze from last year, who's entering year 2, showed like a lot of promising things last year, and he was a 3rd round pick out of Maryland. But, I get it. It's a new coaching staff and a new regime. But let's just kind of live in the hypothetical. Membu's off the board. Genty goes 5, Jacksonville. And, no other shocks. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, Genty. And then with 6, Membu goes. So now we're looking at Warren, Mason Graham, Jahdae Barron, and all the edge rushers, Jalen Walker, Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams. What would be maybe your preferred route at that point in time?
To be honest with you, I think this is what actually happens. I really do. Like there's so many staffs that have, like, we talked about this for the last couple months, where a lot of new staffs, even when you have a new staff, they have their own vision on how they want their offensive line to be, how they want them to play. They may think, I agree with K-Dude. I think he's gone. I think Membu's not going to be available. And this is going to be the exact scenario that comes to the Jets, where it's like, do you want Mason Graham? Do you want Tyler Warren? And what's our biggest need? And the question I have for you, I was actually talking to Joe Blute about this. How do you see Mason Graham in this defense next to Quinnen Williams? Like, is he a player that can play next to him? Or is it a guy that they can't play simultaneously? Can Aaron Glenn work his magic where they could all be on this? Like, what's the, like, if you're looking for the biggest impact, who would have a bigger impact? Mason Graham on defense or Tyler Warren on offense? And I'll see what you say.
Well, if that's the question, I'm going Warren. Part of it is because I really like the defensive tackles in this year's class. I like some of the tight ends, but I think I think there's a big difference between if a team has the 20th ranked defensive tackle in football, that's a lot more valuable to the team compared to the 20th ranked tight end in football. We're seeing what these defensive tackles are getting paid as well. It's important to, if you can get a day 1 contributor out of the draft in the 2nd round at D tackle, I would personally be all over that. But with Mason Graham, man, I like Mason Graham as a player. I do. And I do think he makes sense for the Jets. He fills the need. And I think he has a pretty high floor. He's like technically polished. He's always making plays. Seems like he's a gamer. I think Aaron Glenn would like a guy like that. But if I'm being honest, I just don't. I like when I'm thinking about like just like a 4-man attack, right, in Aaron Glenn's system, and Steve Wilks too. I don't necessarily like the fit on like early downs, like obvious run situations with Mason Graham and Quinnen. I think if Mason Graham, because originally he was listed on the Michigan website at 320 pounds. And when he weighed in at the combine, he was like 297, somewhere in that range. So, and granted, it's the combine, you're working out for it and stuff like that. You're doing all these 40s, and Grant could probably put weight back on. But, if he's around that mark and you have Quinnen on the field at the same time, and the Jets have showed, just basing it off of last season, we struggled to stop the run. Mason Graham to me is not like this dominant, clogging run stuffer where he's like taking on 2 offensive linemen at once, center guard, like lining up in between those guys. I think on passing situations, it's just a nightmare for a quarterback because now you have 2 really, really good pass rushing D tackles like up the middle with the edge rushers. But I would prefer like a Tyleek Williams, like a bigger 320, 330-pound defensive tackle, like playing more so like, closer towards the center. And then that way you can kind of shift Quinnen out and kind of have that more of a like a clogging type of approach from your new defensive tackle who's like a run stuffer. Not saying Graham sucks against the run.
No, it's just
I just maybe have some concerns. Yeah.
So then what is if you had to rank him or Jalen Walker in terms of fit for the Jets and impact on a team, where would you put Walker?
Dude, Walker's interesting, man. Well, let me hear your thoughts on Graham.
I completely agree with you. I 1000% agree with you. Like, I'm looking, like, you respect the player, you understand the talent. It's like, what's the best fit? What's the biggest impact? And if I had to compare Warren and Graham, I'm going to go Warren. Walker gets interesting though. So I want to hear your take on Walker.
Dude, Walker's interesting. I think Todd McShay just had Walker going to the Jets. I think really the first thing that needs to be actually real quick before I dive into Walker as a player, like my thoughts on him. So you're watching interviews with, with all these different draft prospects, just kind of throughout the process. I always thought to myself, Jalen Walker, like he talks and he kind of looks like Aaron Glenn, like his similar mannerisms and whatnot. I'm like, this is crazy. Like Aaron Glenn, I could see Glenn liking this guy or like reminding him of himself. But no, with Walker, dude, like I think his best fit is like a 3-4 system, like Carolina, where you can just unleash him. Right, you can line him up at linebacker. You can rush him off the left side, the right side. You could set him up through the middle, delayed blitzes. You could drop him back into coverage, and you just have this like defensive, Swiss Army knife. We can no quarterback knows what Jalen Walker is going to do. He can come from any sort of angle. He can rush the passer, hawk down running backs. And like I don't know if the mic picked that up, but screens. Pitch plays, anything towards the outside, read options, like having that speed and like an explosion to get like kick out to the outside and go make plays. With the Jets specifically, I think if he is the pick there, the Jets would have a plan. I think we're going to see a lot more blitzes this year with Steve Wilks calling the defense. So I think my guess would be if Jalen Walker's the pick, we're probably going to see a lot of blitzing with Jalen Walker, not so much him playing just the stand-up linebacker. And I mean, I don't know. I forget what beat reporter suggested. I think it was Rich Cimini. It was like trade Quincy Williams, draft Jalen Walker. And then you can line Jalen Walker up on first and second down as, a stand-up linebacker. Third downs, he kicks into edge, or it's just that blitzing piece. And now you go get like a late round pick and you clear money for Quincy. Personally, I kind of disagreed with that. Just because I don't want to, like, the Jets have a lot of needs: strong safety, tight end, D tackle, right tackle, like all these needs, wide receiver. I'm not trading a really, really good player who was a former All-Pro, who's still young and just so happens to be the brother of the defense's best player, in my opinion. I'm not going to trade a guy like that, opening up another hole, But I do think Walker is just an electrifying player, and I think he would be really, really good for the culture. He's a great leader, man. He's a really, really good leader.
And that's what I was thinking too. Great leader, Swiss Army knife for Aaron Glenn. And you got to keep in mind, like, while they have their defense that we think they have, they also have a vision too for this defense. Listen, we may need this. We may want that. This is how we rebuild it. And when you inherit a team, you make unpopular decisions. I know, like, at one point, the Jets had Jonathan Vilma, great linebacker. They got rid of him. He was too small. The Jets got rid of Hugh Douglas at one point. Like, all these guys over the years they're very good players that were like, listen, you're just not a fit. You add in maybe a new contract for Quincy Williams, whatever else, may not be here next year. I'm not saying do this. I'm saying you can make a case for it and understand it. And Jalen Walker is not like oh my God, this is like, it would make sense. It would. To be honest, I'd have him over Graham in terms of how you'd rank them for this team and like the overall, I guess, the value. Like, I like him as like just the fit and the value of him.
Dude, I totally agree with you. Steven, bro, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Build around Justin Fields. Yeah, man, you can't go wrong adding offensive weapons to a team that doesn't have many offensive weapons. It's just my take.
Yep.
Rico, what's going on, bro? Hope you're doing well. Paul, dude, holy crap, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you a ton. I don't know what your plans are tomorrow, but if you want to pop in tomorrow night, we're going to be doing like the live reactions to that 7th overall pick. I'm juiced up for it, but bro, thanks again, man. You did not have to do that. I think really, dude, like when you compare Mason Graham to a Jalen Walker, I think Jalen Walker's like I don't know, dude. Like a lot of people have Mason Graham in their top 3 or top
Yep,
4.
I agree.
I think Jalen Walker's the better player compared to Graham. I think Graham might have a higher floor because Jalen Walker at times will get like swallowed up
Mhm.
when like the plays kind of congested and an offensive line gets their hands on him early in the play, like especially trying to be like a run setting or
Mhm.
like an edge setting type of D end. I just don't really feel like Walker's that type of guy to
Right.
come off the line, go up against one of these, bigger power tackles and just hold him in place, and then shake and then make a play on a running back. I think he's more so that pass rushing closer type.
Which doesn't hurt, man. Like I said, like I don't just coming off like I don't like Mason Graham. I like a great energy, great character, all the intangibles that you want. A guy that Aaron Glenn would love. I just think he probably would love Walker more, and I can make a case, like more of a case for it. If I had to make a case for it, like if this time or tomorrow night at 9:30, we're like, oh, this is what they got. Okay, not my offensive pick that I wanted, but I understand. Now, where it gets interesting is Barron because
Hold on,
okay,
hold
no,
on,
go ahead.
real quick before we move on to Baron. Let me just add this point in real quick. So you're looking at the front, the front, however you want to. And to be fair, we don't know exactly what the Jets system is going to be on defense.
Yep.
Like who? Maybe it's multiple. Maybe there are situations where we do line up with like 3-man fronts. And now all of a sudden, because it's easy to say like, okay, the Jets are going to run the same exact system that the Lions ran last year. It's going to be like a lot of 4-man, 4 down linemen. What if the Jets, again, want to deploy, want to maybe stand Jermaine Johnson up, and then you're factoring in Jalen Walker into the mix, right? Like a multiple defense where it's just
Exactly.
tough for offenses to kind of predict what to do. I also think too, like if you want to go BPA approach, like Jalen Walker does make a lot of sense, but I think Walker gives the team a lot of flexibility, like on what to call, who's coming from what angle. Because in Saleh's defense, he felt like it was really, really predictable,
Mhm.
really predictable. Like you see Will McDonald lining up. Like if you're a quarterback, you're lining up, right? You're getting to the line of scrimmage. You see Will McDonald lining up on the outside, wide out.
Mhm.
You know what he's going to do. He's not going to just drop back in coverage. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But with, again, this Wilkes defense, this Aaron Glenn defense, I think they want to crank up the pressure. Now you can say, okay, well, Mason Graham provides that too on the inside, but I just don't want to see a situation where we draft Graham and we have Quinnen and Graham, 2 highly talented pass rushing D tackles, and we can't stop the run. We're getting gashed.
I agree with you. Completely agree.
But my question was, you're looking at the front. You have Sherwood, big contract, Quincy. And we're just going to assume base defense, 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers with 3 corners.
Mhm.
Like, the typical like offensive base package with 3 receivers to, 1 running back in the backfield. Your 4 down linemen, Jermaine Johnson, at this point, Derek Nottie, Quinnen Williams, and Will McDonald.
Yep.
Where does Walker fit into that picture for you? Who's coming out?
That's a good question. Will McDonald, right?
I don't know. I would ideally like to see all 3 of them on the field at the same time.
That would be the perfect
That's the
scenario. But I mean,
question.
but
Who do
it's
you pull
also
off?
who you pull up. But that's a good problem to have. I mean, depending on what the rotations are, like also, like Saleh had those crazy rotations. Like, how do they implement their scheme? Like, how do they is Quinning actually going to play 60% of the snaps now? Like, what's his snap count? Like, we don't know what the rotations are going to be, how they're going to use them. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Because Will McDonald, if you had all 3, the speed would be crazy. That's a good question, man. That I don't know. Maybe I guess it comes down to your run defense as well. Like how stout are they against the run? Like that, the comment previously about Will McDonald against the run was kind of like legit too, where you worry about that as well.
Yeah, or dude, do you just take a safety away and you put a lot on Cisco's plate in like the back end of the defense? You
He's a
pull a
hitter.
safety and you add an extra guy in the box, which is Jalen Walker. That way you keep everyone kind of the same. I don't know. It's just kind of food for thought, I guess, like a night out.
No, it's a great question, dude. It's just again, if we talk about what we mentioned before, it's accumulating a lot of excellent resources, and that would be. And I'm not saying I want Walker, but I'm saying it's a legit building block for this defense. That's a core piece right there. That's a very good player, explosive guy that you can add to your Sherwood, Jermaine Johnson, all that. And be like, all right, this defense got some pieces that you can be like, this is a threat that offenses have to worry about, which is what you want. You want to be dangerous.
Yeah, Harris, bro, I totally feel you, man. Day 2 is actually my favorite day because I feel like it's a little, even though there's more picks, even though it's kind of more rapid fire, it feels more calm, and you have a much clearer picture on like, okay, the big fish has been caught, if you will. Like, you know what piece that your favorite team drafted in the first round, and it's like, okay, you have totally important rounds in 2 and 3, but it kind of just gives you a little bit more flexibility. Chances are you tackled one big team need early, and now you're coming back at round 2. And I feel like this year specifically, there's so many talented players in round 2. I really think that the last pick, the Eagles in round 2, right? They're going to get a similar quality player as like the Patriots in like the mid 30s,
Yep.
or
That's saying that
like late 30s, late 30s.
they're saying the sweet spots in those mid tier right there, where it's like so many like there could be some guys trading up in the first round. They're saying there could be a lot of movement in like the second round, third round. A lot of teams like moving around trying to accumulate picks there. So
Yeah, dude. But you wanted to shift over to Barron. I didn't mean to cut you off before.
No, you're good. No, there's so many things like in your head going on with all these different players, and Barron is really interesting, especially when you look at what we perceive Aaron Glenn's view to be on his defense. But you also look at their secondary too. You figure Sauce can get the huge contract. You got Michael Clark got the huge contract already. Stevens, 2-year thing, got decent money. But the safety is what Tony Adams and Cisco, which is not encouraging at all. I mean, you like Cisco, he's a 1-year deal. Where does Barron fit into this? Where can he be that dynamic chess piece that kind of we're talking about with Walker, but more in the back end though?
I think so, dude. I mean, because that's what he showed back at Texas, right? Slot corner, outside corner, like you can really move him around. I think there's a chance that if Barron's the pick, and I guess it's kind of like a precursor thought or statement. Whoever the Jets pick, they're going to be passing on some talented players. So you got to imagine they're not just like, oh, great, we have to take this guy.
Yep.
Let's just take him. No, it's like this is calculated. Like they are handpicking this guy, first pick of the new regime.
Yep.
They're not just going to yeah, let's just go with him. Who knows how to use him, right?
Yep.
It's going to be like, no, we want this guy, and this is exactly how we're going to use him. Which is maybe same argument that you could have with Justin Fields, but I think if Barron's the pick, I would assume we would see somewhat of a similar role like Brian Branch in Detroit, where he plays or played a lot of slot corner, maybe lines up as kind of that like box safety, because I mean, that's the thing too, man. It's like, and injuries aside, they just paid Stevenson or Brandon Stevens.
Yep.
Gardner is probably going to get a huge deal at some point. Carter is one of the highest paid slot corners already. And that's kind of where Barron projects towards the NFL the most, is like, those teams that really need help covering those slot receivers on the inside. That's really where Barron has been mocked to the most. And so, if you're the Jets, you're like, we have that guy. We have a number one corner in Gardner, and we just handed out, the 3-year deal to Brandon Stevens. Is it smart to go top 10 pick in a corner? It's different if it's 20 or 25 or 30, but top 10 pick is like big time.
Yeah, and the other thing too is Michael Carter II is a really good player that was banged up all of last year. We saw a lot of really good things at him before he got his contract. That maybe he's a chess piece for Aaron Glenn as well. That that we're kind of not discounting, but maybe forgetting about based on his play last year. So like to me, it's like if you had to rank Graham, Walker, and Barron, how would you rank those three in terms of defensive player? That's going to be, your preference.
You said Graham, Barron, and who?
Walker.
Out of that lineup, I would probably go. Well, to preface, I like all three players a lot, but for the Jets specifically, I would go Walker, Graham, Barron.
Yep, yeah, me too. Now there is I saw that Steve McMichael passed away. That's crazy.
Yeah. I looked down at my phone and
that's crazy. Rest in peace. That's wild.
And I know he wasn't really, really old. He wasn't in his 90s or something. I don't know, really the details on it, but I'll check it out after the stream.
So then we had those three players. Now there's been some curveballs mentioned on defense where Shamar Stewart's a name that people either light up about or start throwing things because they're pissed off. Like, don't do this again. We can't do this because of, the Vernon Golston, all this other stuff. I think there's a very small chance this happens, but it's interesting based on his explosive nature, what he thinks you bring to the table on this defense. What's your take on Stewart?
Stewart's an interesting option, man. God, like there's so many people that don't like Stewart.
Yep.
And I get it, right? Why would you take an edge rusher who can't or who didn't sack the quarterback? Now he's going up against better competition. How is he going to, acquire more sacks at the NFL level? But I think really it's the upside that people get excited about.
Yeah.
But also, too, man, like outside of sacks, I think he's really good, like stopping the run. He's played defensive tackle and defensive end. He could play in a 4-3 or in a 3-4. He could stand up. He can move around the defensive line. You could send him in on stunts, which is where I felt like he had success at Texas A&M, where he would pull and then shoot inside and just get right up in the quarterback's grill to where he'd have to throw it away. Yeah. So it's kind of like, if that QB holds on the football for like a half second longer, it would have been a sack. But the quarterback's just being smart and just, dirting it. So, no sack, but it does rack up as like a quarterback pressure. But Shamar Stewart's actually fantastic against the run. So I think that would maybe, and same argument with Mykel Williams too, who I'm sure we're going to talk about. But, Stewart, my guess would be Stewart would probably start with Jermaine Johnson. And then on third downs or, passing situations, Will McDonald would come in some sort of package as well. But I think the kind of weird thing is like 3 first-round picks in the edge position.
But not by Darren Muji, though.
What do you mean?
There's 3. It's 3 first-round picks, but that's not this. It's not this regime, not this staff. This is the first one. So like you inherit Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald. They didn't do those moves. They listen. This is our first edge guy that we're bringing based on our vision for our defense and how we like it to be run. So it's, like a lot of times we say, oh, well, they have this many first-round picks. They don't. That was almost cursed. They don't care. Like they like this. This is our team. Who we want. We don't care what Joe Douglas did. It's not my problem. It's what we inherited. And one of these guys could be gone for all we know. Like we don't that's what the entire team, like guys, there's no like slam dunk. This guy's going to definitely be here this year. Like, I mean, honestly, the major players, but dude, they could make some moves if they have to or want to.
Yeah, that's true. But, I do think it's important for the new regime to look at bright spots.
Of course.
From the previous regime. You know what I mean?
Now, so you would put, like we had, Mason Graham, Barron, and Walker. You'd put Shamar Stewart like number 4 in that list then of those guys?
I would prefer Stewart over Barron.
Really? So then where do you put Williams? I like seeing you think, man. I can see your mind starts racing. You start trying to think about this.
Bro, imagine if we did this, like we were actually like a part of an NFL team and like we would spend all day going through these different scenarios. It'd be so much fun. But I like Mykel Williams a lot, dude. I think one of the cool things about Mykel Williams is that he played hurt. Mm-hmm. He could have sat out and just said, hey, I'm hurt. I'm good. Dealing with the ankle. I'm not trying to get, re-injured before the NFL draft and have this whole thing where, my stock is now falling like Benjamin Morrison or Will Johnson. I mean, because both of those guys were like top, and even like Ravel from East Carolina, like top 15, 20 pick. Now he's being talked about going to round 2. Mykel Williams could have done that. And he's like, no, I'm going to lace him up. I'm going to play. And he was productive. He was really good. He wasn't elite, but as the season went on and he was getting like a little healthier every week, not, fully clearing it like, oh yeah, I'm 100% now in week 8. Like, no, he was still hurt the whole time, but you can tell like the more he played on the injury, just the better he got. And he absolutely just wrecked Texas. I think Mykel is an interesting option. Great size, good, really, really good length, right? Like I'm just imagining like Mykel Williams going up against Will Campbell with the Patriots, right? Yep. Like, dude, I'm taking Mykel Williams every day.
Yep.
But purely off of length. But again, great against the run. and you have the pass rushing upside. So, and I do feel like Michael Williams is more of like a natural fit in like a 4-3, just kind of base style defense compared to a Jalen Walker, where that kind of opens up like, all right, we got to get creative with Walker. With Michael, it's more so like plug and play, in my opinion.
So then where would you rank him in our group of defensive players we've talked about?
So I would, I would probably go. I think, and it's no disrespect to Jahdae Barron, but I would probably have Barron last.
Okay.
Just because of the position that he plays. And it's not to say that I would hate the Barron pick. We're still adding a great player, and I'm going to assume that there's a plan there for him. But I just feel like DB, we have 3 good DBs or three good corners, and we just brought in Cisco, who I'm excited about at 24 years old. There's people in this draft that are 24 years old. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We just need a strong safety, and that could be had in round 2 or round 3 or round 4. So the thought of going corner in the top 10 just makes me a little like, are we really maximizing the 7th overall pick? Now you can argue, okay, well, we have 2 good edge rushers, but I think if you get a game-changing edge rusher, it's different than just maybe a game-changing DB, because the edge rusher impacts, like, it directly impacts the game. You can run away from the edge rusher.
Yep.
You can, do things to, chip the edge rusher and stuff, but like you can do things to take TJ Watt out of the game, but you can never fully take him out.
Yep.
With corner too, it's similar, but to a more intensified kind of degree. Like you can completely eliminate a great corner. We're not targeting him, right? Which is why I think Travis Hunter should be used maybe as a wide receiver at the next level, like top end pick. I want to dictate him getting the football. I don't want to just roll him out there at corner, and then teams can just say, we're not going to throw it to him. You know what I mean?
So then where are you ranking Williams?
I'm trying to avoid the question.
I know. I got you.
Yeah, I would probably go from least to first. I would go Barron, Graham. No, Barron, Stewart, Graham, Walker, Williams. Yeah. I'd probably have Williams 1 for edge rushers.
No, I completely agree.
Or not edge rushers, defensive players.
No, I agree. So now going back to the offensive side of the ball, a lot of people think that Membu is going to be gone, including myself. I think he's not going to be available there. Now, Kelvin Banks Jr. has been mentioned by many people saying that could be, I think it was Chris Sims that said that. Like a lot of people saying, you know what? He's rising on a lot of charts. People are sleeping on him. What is your evaluation of Kelvin Banks Jr., where some people say at 7 it's a reach, but is it a huge drop off from Membu? Does it address the need? Like, how do you feel about him?
Yeah, dude, I always liked Kelvin Banks a lot because he was one of like the best. Like he was a really, really good high school recruit coming out. And in 2023, like this dude was dominant, man. Like he was great last season or 2 seasons ago, really. And he was projected to literally be a top 5 pick. Mm-hmm. Like if you go back and look at mock drafts, like midway through the year, not from like Mel Kiper and stuff, but just like kind of the online ones. Yeah, it was like Kelvin Banks, top 3 pick, top 4 pick, almost in every mock. Mm-hmm. And then this season had some struggled against Georgia, struggled against, Jalen Walker and stuff. There were some maybe down moments, but I think Banks actually has a higher floor than Campbell and Membu. But I think Membu has the higher ceiling, if that makes sense. I think Banks' best like system fit would probably be a team like the 49ers at 11. And I did a mock draft and I had Kelvin Banks going to the Niners at 11 and I got killed. Like I was like legit getting messages saying like Banks is not worth the top 15 pick. Like put him at like 18 with Seattle. He could play guard. Yeah. I don't know. I view Banks as someone who could play guard or tackle, not like Campbell where it's okay. We're forcing him to play guard because he can't play tackle. No, I think Banks can play either and have pretty good success. 7, if the Jets take Kelvin Banks, they have to be sure that he can play on the right side because I'm not moving Olu. That's just my take, though.
1,000% agree with that. 1,000%. That's Olu's natural spots left. Keep him there. But that's the question with Banks. It's like, I guess it's kind of like your confidence in your coaching staff and his ability, right? That's what you're banking on, which is it. But is that, you consider that risky at 7? Like it's just too much of a risk when you have that unknown?
I mean, like I think the Jets understand the importance of this pick,
Mhm.
and they understand the importance of it being the first pick of the regime, like kind of setting that tone, setting that standard, going out and getting like a culture guy, a football guy. Um, like they can't whiff on the pick. That just cannot happen. We cannot have, like go back to Joe Douglas's first draft. Who's even on the roster from that whole class?
Brutal.
Like, yeah, dude, like there was just a lot of misses there. That can't happen.
So would
So
he? So I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but does he fall in that category where it's like there's too much risk? Not really, like good player. We're not going to argue about that. But now it's getting your best value, like the best prospect available. Is there just too much that you're uncomfortable with to say I'm good with it at 7? If they trade it back to like 14 or something like that, you feel better about it, or is like what's like how would you rank him like in terms of like offensive players? We've talked about Membu, Tyler Warren, Kelvin Banks Jr. What would you have out of those 3?
I would have Membu 1, Warren 2, Banks 3.
Okay.
Nothing against Banks. I love Banks, but I think the Jets would again, it just have to be sold, whether that's through private workouts, whether that's through athleticism. Hey, he needs to start at right tackle. I don't feel comfortable taking Banks, plugging him at left, and then saying Olu, pick it up again and move over to the right side. Because we saw the difference last year when Olu was on the right compared to the
100%.
left. When he was on the left, he was great. When he was on the right, it wasn't all, it wasn't compared, it wasn't at that top level like left tackle. So you got to have, I mean, we've seen teams kind of flip-flop guys before, like the Chargers go and Joe Alt, and then they kick Slater over to the right side. But with Olu, I strictly want him at left tackle.
No, it's a strength of your team right now. It's like a building block for your team. Now, the one question I have is this: now these scenarios are based on, in my opinion, Membu being gone. Now we're talking about we want offense, we want help on the offense, and I've gotten all kinds of messages be like, "Bro, you're completely discounting Ted McMillan. Why wouldn't you take him over Warren at 7?" So if you're presented the opportunity, which the Jets probably will, unless there's rumors he may go now, but if it's Ted McMillan versus Tyler Warren, what would be your case to take McMillan?
So I would take Warren over McMillan at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just trying to play devil's advocate, trying to, make a solid argument for McMillan, you can say the receivers in this draft class are not comparable to last year. Like there is such a big jump. McMillan, of course, right, team fit wise makes a lot of sense, provides a skill set that the Jets don't have long term, right? Lazard is big, but I think McMillan's the better player. Someone who can take pressure off of Garrett Wilson, take pressure off of whoever's playing tight end, give Justin Fields a red zone threat, someone with big play capabilities, someone who has 2 years of back-to-back great production at Arizona. He was making plays deep down the field. That Wildcat offense was there was like a lot of pro style stuff in there, like quarterback getting under center. McMillan just made corners pay, just bullying guys out there. And I think the Jets just don't really have that, just that guy that can kind of, make plays deep down the field, make plays in the intermediate part, but also you can throw a screen to him and just kind of watch him just stiff arm corners out of the way for 10 yards. So, and, you're taking a look at like, okay, well, if we pass on wide receiver, who's a wide receiver that we can go with in round 2, round 3? Like you can toss out names like Higgins and
of course,
Jalen Royals, but that's it's not a guarantee that they're going to be there. So many teams need wideouts, man.
that's
Jacksonville, New England, Saints, Panthers, Cleveland can use a wide receiver, right? All those teams are picking ahead of the Jets in round 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're like, let's go with whoever, Mason Graham, Membu, because we're going to go get Jaden Higgins in round 2. I bet you there's probably at least 4 or 5 teams that had that same exact thought, like Higgins round 2.
100%. That's my kind of question. That was, the argument I got with somebody, but it was like, okay, I understand. Like, and I'm the one that I understand the Jets' need for wide receivers. We've been talking about this for 2 months where I'm like, I want playmakers, as many as humanly possible. I don't care about Lazard and Josh Reynolds. Don't care about that. You want young studs to pair opposite Garrett Wilson. So I guess the question for you is what's the drop off from McMillan? I think Golden will be gone in the second round, but like, what's the drop off to your Jaden Higgins? Is it significant enough where you're like, I've got to take McMillan a lot more seriously at 7? Or do you feel comfortable if you go Warren, Membu round 1 and you get that quote unquote second tier guy in round 2? Are you like, is it still an impact player for our offense this year that they desperately need?
I understand like the urgency for wide receiver. Like I get it. But I think bringing Lazard back doesn't force the Jets' hand, in my opinion. Like they're not going to say like, I don't believe the Jets are in a position where they're like, our wide receiving room is so bad we have to pass on these 6 great players that we love for this wide receiver that we like. I don't think we're in that spot anymore. I think if
Yeah,
we
but
didn't have Lazard, we didn't have Josh Reynolds, we might be in that spot.
yeah, but how many of these guys are under contract next year?
Yeah, it's true, but you could also say wide receivers, like good wide receivers, get moved every offseason. And there's trade
Well, there's-
rumors. I mean, this offseason, who got moved? Metcalf, Debo Samuel.
Yep.
You know, there's still trade talk with like Brandon Ayuk. Not saying that I want Ayuk, but just like it kind of feels like every offseason there's at least 1 or 2 guys that are talked about, you know, in trade speculation rumors and stuff like that. But Ron, bro, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. What is our second choice if Membu's gone? I would say Tyler Warren or the best available edge. That would be my preferred route.
Yep. Yeah,
Same with you?
yeah, no, 100%. Now, actually, K dude he must have read my mind. There is rumors that Jameson Williams could be on the trade block too. Aaron Glenn knows him. He was coaching, you know, he's on the other side. It kind of what's the kind of word you want to use for him? He's a spark plug. He can give you instant plays, instant energy. Does a lot of dumb things, suspensions, all kinds of stuff. Is that the kind of guy? Would you consider that trade like what value, or is that kind of like a name that everybody talks about? But based on the Jets' culture, what they're trying to do, is he a fit here?
I don't know. I mean, the Jets, they have that inside info with Williams because it's not just Glenn, it's Inkstrand.
Yep.
It's even Hayden, right?
Yep.
Who also came over from the Lions staff. You know, so if they pull off a move like that, it would be pretty interesting, but same draft class as Garrett Wilson. So if you're going to pay Garrett, you're probably going to have to pay Jameson, and now you're shelling out how much to the wide receiver position? Like 40 something mil just between those 2 players.
Yeah.
You know, of course, looking ahead, not this season, but looking ahead into the future. So that would kind of give me pause. And I think both of them have similar skill sets, right? Like, you know, they're not identical players. I think Garrett's the better player. I think Garrett's a better route runner. But I do think Jameson is way better down the field. Yeah, with the speed. But we're still kind of looking for that big bodied guy. Now, you know, does Josh Reynolds or Lazard impress to where you bring him back? I don't know. That's just a risky game. And also too, like, what would the Lions want in return?
Well, that was the thing. It's like what's the compensation? They got to talk about the contract too. So I think it's a name that you can consider, but I don't think it'd be a fit. But now going back to the wide receiver class in general, based on what you were kind of saying, like you can make a case that, okay, we don't need Ted McMillan at 7. We can get better value round 2, round 3, because it's not a big of a priority. Now with Tyler Warren, what is your take on the drop off behind him? Because like some people like Loveland more than him actually, but there's like the injury concern, whatever else, but like Loveland there, but it's also a deep tight end class. So are we, I don't want to say overvaluing Warren, but are we getting the best value we can if we can get a player a little bit lesser in round 2, round 3? Like, you know what I mean? Like you try to assess like what's your biggest impact, and it's like after him, it's a big step down. Is there really that big step down to Tyler Warren?
I love Loveland. I think he's really good. He's not going to be there in round 2, obviously.
No.
But I do think there's a pretty big drop between Warren and like Mason Taylor or Elijah Arroyo. You know, there are like my tight end rankings: Warren 1, Loveland 2, Arroyo 3. Those are my top 3, but there is that gap between, you know, 2 and 3.
Okay. So
I don't know, because there's a ton of mock drafts with the Jets going Mason Taylor in round 2, and I think he's good. I just don't see that like special type of player. But I think tight end is just one of those interesting positions where it's like if you have a top 5 tight end in football, Bowers, Laporta, even Kittle, Kelsey, like they just completely Waller when he was on the Raiders. I mean, he was freaking unstoppable. Like when you have a guy like that, it just does so much for the offense. But if I ask you right now, who's the 11th best tight end in football?
Conklin.
Yeah, like when we were talking about this last week, it's like that the drop off from like being an elite tight end to a really good tight end, I feel like is pretty significant, right?
No,
Like to where it's just, it's just another pass catcher, a good one, but it's not game changing. So that's kind of the question that you have to kind of ask with tight end. It's a weird spot though.
no, listen, I agree with you. Like right now, it's my pick. I think Tyler Warren's the pick because you're giving Justin Fields the asset he needs to help this offense to help flourish in this offense. But the interesting player that I'm just curious your take on this player and where he goes because Genty's a guy where it's like they're saying he can go forward now to the Patriots, he can go to the Jaguars, he can go wherever, the Raiders. What is your take on him? I don't think the Jets want him. I mean, if they took him, that'd be like, well, to trade Brees Hall tomorrow. But like, where do you think he goes? And like, is he that great of a player to Jets? If he somehow falls to them, they can consider him.
Genty, you're talking about?
Yep.
I would consider it, but to Kicksapp's point here, he says that he loves Omari in Hampton.
Yep.
Any Jets can, or any chance that the Jets can get him if they trade down. Maybe this opens up a Brees Hall trade. Hall doesn't seem worth paying for for this like style of rebuilding team. Yeah, I mean, I think the same argument would be had with Genty, right? Where it's like, okay, we got to trade Brees if we're drafting Genty because we're not going to cut Braylon Allen. I don't think. I think it would be Brees the one to go. You're not going to pay Brees Hall a big contract and then draft like a workhorse style of back in the top 10. Like if Genty's the pick at freaking spot number 7, I want him to be getting the rock a ton. I don't want to be pulling him out for like Isaiah Davis and stuff for the majority. Like I don't want this big snap count difference. Like I want Genty to be like the bell cow back. But the whole thing with the Brees Hall trade is who's actually giving up anything of value for Brees Hall.
Well, that's
in this loaded of RB class.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you're stuck because the player that you want him to be, plus the money he wants, is got to be a deterrent before the draft. Maybe after the draft, a team, wanted their running back, they didn't get him, and then you have it. Like, all right, but then they know the Jets have Genty, so like, well, listen, you lost your leverage because now you have these two guys, and he wants out. So you're kind of in a tough spot with him then. You know what I mean? Because you got to get rid of him because now he's pissed off, wants more money. It's I don't see it happening, but the Brees thing is interesting and just in general.
Yeah, and another whole thing too is James Cook seems to be unhappy with Buffalo, he was in that same class.
Yep.
And I believe he was a second-round pick. So, you're taking a look, if you're, let's just, whatever, Chicago, you go with Calvin Banks, you go with Warren or someone else at 10, and they really want to, running back and, who knows, maybe they don't like the other ones, Judkins, Henderson in round 2, and they're like, we want a veteran back. We want to pay a veteran back, or like a quote unquote veteran back. Yeah, with Hall and Cook. Which one do you go with? Now it's not like Brees is the only available option via trade. What happens if the Bills are like, yeah, we'll take less for Cook. We'll be fine without him. So I don't know, dude. I just don't see a team saying, okay, this is the most stacked a draft has been in running back in, I want to say 10 years. Let's give up a valuable pick to go get a running back who's been injured, and we have to pay on a big deal.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Now, the only thing I was thinking about was the Shedeur Sanders thing is interesting because for a long time it was like top 3 pick. Now it's like he can fall down to 21 to the Steelers, wherever else. If he's available at 7, I don't think the Jets are taking him. But how far would you be willing to trade back? Like, what kind of package would you accept for Shedeur? How far would you be willing to trade back and then be like, okay, I'll take this?
I'm fine trading back to wherever.
Really?
Honestly, just me, if I'm Darren Muji, I'm looking at the roster right now, and I'm understanding that this isn't really like the best draft class in the world. If the Giants call me at 34 and they want to move up to 7, I'm fine moving out of the first round. Just I want future pick. Give me next year's first. Give me next year's second. Give me your multiple picks this year. I'm fine moving back. Like I'm not like 100% like living and dying with 1 or 2 players. Like I'm cool with a lot of different players. I'm cool with trading back to 20 to 21 with Pittsburgh. Early second round. I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but if the Jets had 2 second round picks 2 third-round picks, a fourth, 2 fifths, 2 sixths. Next year we have 2 ones and 2 twos.
Yep.
If you want to talk about like stockpiling a team up with talent with a new regime, like that's probably the quickest way to do it.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to trading back at all. I mean, I would want to go out of the first round, but I'm not opposed to trading back at all, especially when we've talked about the late part of first round, second round, there's a lot of value where it's like, okay, you can accumulate as many playmakers as possible because we need them. We talked about walking out of this draft with 3 impact players. If you can walk away with 4, that's a huge difference. And assets for next year as well. You know what I mean? That's a big move for the Jets then.
Yeah, because if you can, let's just say Denver comes up, or like this trade idea is really, really interesting. The Falcons.
Yep.
Right? Like Raheem Morris could look at, that division and just say, you know what, like we got to go get a game changer.
Yep.
Like the division is vulnerable right now. We let it slip through our fingers last year. Like we need that game changing type of player. Let's jump our division rival Saints at 9 and Panthers at 8. Let's move up with the Jets at 7, right? We move back to 15. We could go get Loveland at 15 and maybe get a first next year.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that would be great. Or if the Jets are hell-bent on going edge rusher, maybe Shamar Stewart's there. Maybe Michael Williams is there. You know what I mean? So,
well, the 49ers have a ton of picks
too,
don't they? Like the 49ers have 11 picks, 12 picks in this draft? They have a ton of picks.
Yeah, but the thing with the Niners is, I mean, maybe they could trade up, but I think with San Fran, like they have so many holes.
Yeah.
Like they got Bosa and question marks on the D-line. They need corner. They need safety. They need O-line.
George Kittle's holding out.
1 tackle, 1 guard. Oh, is he?
I think so.
Yeah. And so and also too with Purdy kind of nearing the end of his contract, you're kind of thinking like maybe the Niners use these draft picks to, maybe just invest into the roster as opposed to like trading. It would be different. I mean, because the Niners traded Deebo Samuel too, like Ayuk coming back from injury. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like San Francisco really wants to just kind of like use this period or use the draft. Let's just shift gears and get a little younger.
Fair enough. So now, how many? Yes, we always go back to Afrin for a second. We always expect impact starters.
Where is it?
Yes, we do.
Well, it's a weaker draft class as far as top end talent. Like last year, stars everywhere.
Yeah,
neighbors. I really still think Marvin Harrison is going to be a really, really good player. But Brian Thomas with Jacksonville, Brock Bowers, Olu, Alt, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, like the list goes on. Like there were so many talented players, like high end. This year, I think there's like Travis Hunter's my favorite player in the draft. Genty's my second. Carter's my third, as far as like star power goes. I think this is the draft to just say, hey, where can we plug holes? Let's just go out and get starters. I don't think that you're going to be drafting like these transcendent, edge rushers that are snagging 16 sacks a season.
No, I agree. Yeah, you still can get very good value and have impact players though, for sure.
But that's just my that's just my guess. Like I don't know, who knows? Maybe this is going to be the best draft class of all time. I don't know, just my take. Chris, bro, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Yeah, Tyson, of course, over on Let's Talk Jets Radio. By the way, what's your draft plan? Are you going out to a bar or anything? Or
no, I'm just gonna hang out, join your stream. I like to relax, dude. I like to relax and watch it. For like so many years, I always stream for it, and you get like so like you have to worry about like the chat and this and that. I like to get all like just to think the process through as it's happening. So like, all right, they take like say Membu goes at 6. Then I want to think like, oh, who's available? What would I do? And not look at the like social media or anything. Like, this is my decision, and then react naturally to it. On stream is tough because there's so many things to worry about.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I personally I love like hanging with everyone. Because I grew up, bro. I don't know any. Well, locally, I don't know any Jets fans.
Yeah,
I have one friend who's a diehard Jet fan. My buddy Manny, who's from New York. But I never grew up with like a Jets draft party or talking like all my buddies like on like a huge group chat, like, oh, Jets are doing this and that. Like everyone hated the Jets. They're all Dolphins fans. So I like hanging with a bunch of Jets fans. It's cool.
And and the other thing too is I would have been buried with Will McDonald. I'd be like, what? Who? Where? Like, who the hell is this guy? You know what I mean? I've been swimming with that one.
BG, bro, I appreciate you, man. Love the channel and your passion for the team. and also that you get fired up without without cursing. Yeah. Who's your personal top 3 players at 7? I'll let you take it away, man. Who are your top 3?
No, you did a mock draft, man. I want to see what your let's hear yours.
So top 3, well, realistic top 3: Membu, Warren, Michael Williams.
Oof, that's a good one. The third
And
one's Mike Hurdball. That's the one I'm not really sure of. Membu and Warren are easy. I keep thinking defense, dude. I do. I don't know why. I'd probably say Walker.
yeah, I think Walker has a real chance of going. I think, dude, like, bro, I after the stream, I gotta send you just like a Jalen Walker interview, and you just tell me like this guy sounds and like kind of has the same mannerisms as Aaron Glenn, man. It's so funny, but I don't know. I don't think it's a coincidence that we're getting reports from different networks, different reporters, at different times, and it's not like post pro. It's not like one of these things where it's like, oh, Jahdae Barron just ran his 4.3 40, and the Jets are like all over it. It's like, no, this is coming out randomly.
Yeah.
From Schefter, from McShay, from Albert Breer, Sports Illustrated. They're talking about it on NFL Network. Defense is fully in play here. And, on a lot of people's boards, Jalen Walker is a top 5 player in this draft. I mean, literally a week ago, Michael Williams was being mocked to the Packers and the Lions. I'm just a big fan of Michael Williams personally. So I think naturally Walker would probably be the pick if the Jets do want to go with an edge rusher, even though I feel like Michael maybe fits the defense a little bit better on paper. But I mean, who knows how this whole, maybe it's Barron, dude. Like who knows?
There's so many things we don't know with this new front office and Aaron Glenn, their vision for the defense, how they evaluate their current roster. There's so many just curveballs with this. That's why it makes it exciting. Like I'm excited about this completely because we genuinely don't know. Plus, we don't know what's going to happen in front of them. Like there's the Jaguars aren't unknown, the Raiders who has no idea. You know what I mean? Patriots could surprise us. It's fascinating, man.
Dude, I'm more excited for 7, but I'm more intrigued for 42.
Yeah, 100%.
But BG, man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the 5. Jalen Walker's overrated. Sorry. Hey, he's a tweener. Not everyone's, about those hybrid types of players.
How many quarterbacks do you think go round 1?
2.
Wow. So you think Jackson Dart and or Milroe both go to the second round?
I can't get behind taking Dart in round 1. I do feel like it's interesting that Milroe got invited to the draft.
Well, he gave a great answer for that, though. Did you see his answer for that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they asked him, like, listen, that's kind of bold to accept the invite to the draft. He's like, one of my goals in life was to hear my name called on draft day. I don't care if it's a first round, second round, wherever it is. I want to hear my name and to celebrate with my family and enjoy the entire experience. Like that answer was awesome, dude. I'm like, this guy loves football. This means something to him. Like some of his answers, dude, are tremendous.
That's like, I feel like the mentality that like a lot of fans would have. Like that's something that I feel like you would say, or I would say, something like that, But yeah, I think, Ward 1, Sanders, bro, that's a whole nother conversation. We could probably spend like 45 minutes on where Sanders could go.
Steelers are
looking like Pittsburgh now all of a sudden at 21.
Now, I'm curious if that happens, what happens with Aaron Rodgers? Does it piss him off where he's like, you know what, I'm not going to the Steelers now because you guys got once he plays subpar, the fans will be like, I want to see him, I want to see Aaron Rodgers play. I want to see Shedeur play.
If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm not getting Rodgers at all. I just don't want it in my locker room.
But if you're the Steelers, are you trading up for Shedeur, or you think he's going to fall to them? Because like they said, the Saints were supposedly in the mix for that. But they said they're not going to take him at 9, whatever. I don't believe anybody at this point. But would you trade up for Shedeur if you're the Steelers? Like I think wouldn't Milroe fit there for some reason? Am I just overrating Milroe?
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of buzz with Pittsburgh and Milroe. McShay just admitted he can't get any information from the Jets. Huh.
Well, then we saw that in free agency, dude. We didn't know anything in free agency. We didn't even know what the Allen Lazard restructure, freaking over the cap, how to find out.
Yeah, man. Brandon Stevens came out of left. I mean, I felt like all the players that the beat reporters were suggesting, none of them happened. it wasn't until Josina Anderson was talking about Justin Fields, hey, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
And then it comes out, okay, Justin Fields is, he's the guy. But, we heard so much about like Levi Onwuzurike and Tim Patrick, guys like that, Josh Palmer from the Chargers. None of them have, it was all different.
Yep.
So outside of Josh Reynolds, but yeah, it's clear that the Jets are different than the previous regime as far as just kind of like leaks and reports getting out to the media.
So you're thinking two quarterbacks in round one. Do you think, we talked about this the last couple times, but where do you see the Jets, if at all, get going for a quarterback? I know you did a mock draft. You want to go over it real quick? Because I'm just curious what you think. Because like to me, I still want that developmental guy at some point in this draft. But that's round 4 or beyond. That's where I'm kind of hoping. But based on how everybody's saying, a lot of guys we all want are going to be gone by then. Like there's going to be a run on these project quarterbacks in like round 2, round 3.
Yeah, let me share my screen real quick, and I'll pull up the picture of the mock draft that I did.
Is this final? You can change it tomorrow morning.
Yeah. I mean, this was kind of a mock draft that I would do.
Right.
And so like what I like to do when I'm doing the 7-round mocks for the Jets, I'll go on like one of those mock draft simulators.
Yeah.
And I'll run through it 10 times. Right. And it's just kind of like natural instinct feel for me, because like the picks change or like who's on the board changes. So I, if I do, if I run through it one time and it spits out a bunch of players, what if that's like an anomaly and that player wouldn't fall in real life? And so I'll run it through again and it's like, okay, now he's gone. Now what do I have to do? So 10 separate, go rounds, because I'll write down like round 1, round 2, round 3, all the picks. And then, whatever, hit start draft. And then boom, we're on the clock. Who's available? And I'll jot down my, top 4, top 5. Right. Do that 10 times. And then from there, I like to kind of just pick out my, the available, options. But
I trust your process, man.
Behind the scenes into the very serious YouTube mock draft.
That's some intense stuff over there.
All right. So this was the final picks for me. So I went Membu at 7, Tyleik Williams, nice. 42. Terrence Ferguson, round 3. There's a lot of mocks with him going like first pick in the 4th round. But I just felt, he would be a really good fit in the offense. Good pass catcher, helps out Justin Fields. We didn't go with Warren early. Didn't go tight end in round 2. Ferguson, I think, would start on this Jets team. So I said, screw it. Let's just take him in round 3. Lathan Ransom.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't even mind that though, because it's like at some point you can't worry about where you think you're going to go. You go about what's the impact on my team? Is it the best guy on our board? If it is, I don't care if it means, well, it could have been a 4th rounder. If he's an impact player in the 3rd round, you believe in, take him. Like, don't get too cute. Like, I think Joe Douglas in the past got too cute, kept trading back, doing all these things. Like, listen, take what you feel good about. Don't worry about the aftermath of what we think. Get the guy you believe in.
Yeah, it's a good point. I had Ransom from Ohio State, one of my favorite players in the draft in round 4, who's like a big hitting, strong safety, just will sacrifice his body. I don't know if you know him, dude, but he just, yeah, I'll send you some clips from him later. But yeah, he's one of my favorite players. Not like saying he's an elite player, but just like a mid-round kind of draft crush type of guy.
Is he a project guy or is he a day 1 player?
On the Jets, I think he's a day 1 player. Okay. On most teams, I think he's probably a project, but because we don't, I think he's an upgraded strong safety for us. We got Chim Dike from Florida, who's a Wisconsin transfer. He's just one of these like big motor, doesn't want to go down early, runs just so hard and physical. There was a top 30 visit with the Georgia wide receiver, Arian Smith, but I kind of view him as more like a 7th rounder. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just go out and get the guy who killed the combine, ran what was it, like a 4.37 or 4.39 40 in DK, goes to Florida, again, transferring from Wisconsin, but puts up the best numbers of his career in the SEC against the toughest competition, which I felt, is worth mentioning. Jared Ivey, dude. This dude is just absolutely massive. He's like 6'6". So he weighed in at the combine at like 6'6", 275. Some insane number. And he was his play weight at Ole Miss was like 10 to 15 pounds heavier.
Right.
But his big knock, because this is a round 5 pick here, his big knock is athleticism, like speed. He does not jump off the ball, doesn't have like this big explosion, but he's really long, like it's, humongous length.
Mm-hmm.
And he was pretty productive, again, coming off the best season of his career, his last season with Ole Miss. But someone who I feel like fits in the 4-3 as like a rotational type of D end with good size, good length, just doesn't have that speed and kind of explosion.
What would be a player comp for him? Like, who would you compare him to?
I mean, if we're talking like this late into the draft, it's tough because any player that I throw out, it's probably gonna be like a notable player.
Like,
and I'm not saying like
but
Jared
just like in your vision, like understanding where he's taken. Like, listen, it's a shot in the dark with it, but like, what would you see? Like, what could be his ceiling? Like, where would you see him be? Like, the kind of impact could he have?
Like a longer type of player, like Randy Gregory coming out.
Okay,
not saying he's going.
No, but I'm saying, but now I get the vision of what. Yeah.
But yeah, and he was just like a force when he would make a hit. Like and I think it's probably because of his size. Like, because you're thinking like 6'6", like slender, but with Ivy, he holds it really, really well. Like he's built, like he's 6'6", like the guy looks just like a freak show, man. He's crazy, but it's so weird because he's not really all that athletic,
right?
Like as far as just like burst and pop and stuff. Then I went, and this was kind of like an on the spot moment, but I went Johnny Walker, edge rusher from Missouri. So back-to-back edge rushers. This was the first pick in the 6th round, and he is like the opposite of Ivy. He's someone who's like a stand-up speed rusher who had success at Missouri, who everyone loved at Missouri. I believe he was a team captain, but the head coach, Eli Drinkwitz, loves him.
Mm-hmm.
And but the size is the issue for him. He's only 249 pounds.
Oof.
So really, really light. Again, that's why we're talking, round 6, but he was 2nd team all SEC. And it took a big jump from year 1 to year 2. So I like the combo of just saying like, okay, you know what? Let's go get 2 backup defensive ends that are completely different from each other. One's the stronger, like run stopping edge setter with crazy length and size. Mm-hmm. And then the other is like passing situation, right? So you would throw Jared Ivey in on like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4s.
Right. Yep.
And then in like 3rd and 12s, that's when you would see like a Johnny Walker come out and just like try to fly off the edge and just, speed by a tackle.
Makes sense.
And then Robert Longerbeam, corner from Rutgers, an older player, 24 years old, but he was someone who I felt like, well, first of all, he took a top 30 visit with the Jets. And I think he was a part of like the local pro day as well.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so there's a little bit of buzz there. But I think Aaron Glenn, being the former corner, is going to look at Longerbeam's career and say, okay, he was asked to play press, off coverage, man coverage, zone coverage, slot corner. I mean, they really asked him to do it all. And he's kind of like a feisty player. Again, a little bit older, comes in with like, more experience under his belt. 2 picks last year, 11 passes defended against. Round 6, no 7th round pick. And, really the goal with the draft was, try to find starting players. I'm not so locked into like, we got to go tackle early and then target a pass catcher in round 2. Like I kind of want the board to come to me and I want to make the best decision, because it's not like these guys are gonna Muji and Glenn, they're not gonna be fired after a year. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So you don't have to force picks if you don't like them.
No, it's interesting. I like that's just interesting. Like like Ferguson's interesting.
Yeah. And some would say that Ferguson's a reach in round 3 at 72, because like a lot of mocks, again, like he's in the 90s, but I don't know. I just kind of felt like if we can go out and get a starting caliber tight end, Arroyo, Mason Taylor, all these guys are off the board. He's the last one that I really felt like great about.
Yeah.
Let's just pull the trigger in round 3.
Okay. So how do you want to wrap this up? You want to do our final predictions for the top 7 picks?
Yeah, we could do that. That'd be cool.
All right. This is going to be interesting because I think I'm probably going to differ a little bit. Xavier Watts.
Yeah. Dude, they got Jack Kaiser at linebacker, who's just like the Swiss Army knife, special teams guy. I like Jack Kaiser.
All right, Ian. So number one pick, I think we could say we both agree it's Cam Ward, right?
Yeah.
Number two, you can take him for number two.
Oh wait, are we doing this together?
Yeah, you go back and forth. You take yours, I'll take mine.
Okay, I'll go Hunter at 2.
I agree. Giants at 3.
Is me or is you?
Yeah, we'll both go. We'll both just pick.
Okay. God, dude, I like Sanders. I do, but it's probably gonna look like it's probably gonna be Carter.
Yeah, I agree. This is where it gets interesting. Who do you have it for the Patriots?
I don't like taking Will Campbell. I don't, but it's looking like it's gonna happen. So
Yeah, I for some reason I don't think they're going to take him. I don't know why. I don't. I just had. Let me easy for this. We're both going to say that, but for some reason this is where the draft changes for me. But I don't think that I'll go Will Campbell. For some reason I think they don't go that.
what do you think, Genty or Jalen Walker?
Genty.
Yeah, I mean Mike Vrabel kind of came from Tennessee with Derrick Henry. You know,
Yep.
what better offensive weapon to get for Drake May than
100%.
Ashton Genty?
Especially when you have questions about Will Campbell, like playing left tackle, the arm, like all the things we talked about for the last God knows how many weeks. That's why I think they're going to be the curveball there. But we'll go Campbell for the argument. Just take an argument right now.
Yeah. Okay. And then at 5, Jaguars.
This is, I mean, I don't think it's going to be Mason Graham. I think he's going to fall. Oh, I'm going to say Genty here.
Okay. And so if Genty's off the board, then what do the Jags do? If the Pats went with him at 4.
Mason Graham.
Okay.
But
So you're not buying the McMillan rumors at 5.
Mm-mm. No.
Okay. 6, Raiders.
Membu.
Why?
Because Genty's going to be gone in my world. That's the first thing. And I think they rebuild. Pete Carroll wants to put an emphasis on offensive line. I think it's a perfect fit. That's what the freakish talent like he is. I think it's just a fit for them, man.
I actually don't really like that fit. I love Membu, but I just don't like him going to the Raiders. I just want to see, like, dude, imagine if Carter Warren, right? He looked really good, but not elite, not fantastic, not like he was this top tackle in football, but it's just like, whoa, mid-round pick looked promising. And then the next year we're spending a top 10 pick to replace him.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying, but to me, it's like if I'm a new regime, I don't care what, like you got to obviously got to evaluate what the player did last year on the field, but you pick what you go with your instinct, what's best for your team, and you're like, listen, I understand who we played like last year. I'm moving on. This is my guy now. I mean, I've been wrong a million times. It's I just have a weird feeling that Membu is going to be gone there.
Okay, and then 7.
So who are you taking for the Raiders?
We'll go with your gut. We'll go with Membu.
You can go. Who would you, if you were Raiders, who would you take there? Would you take if you're in that scenario?
I would take Graham.
Okay, so you take Graham there.
Because I'm looking at first of all, the division that I'm in: Mahomes, Herbert, Bo Nix, Andy Reid, Harbaugh, Sean Payton, 3 offensive guys, 3 great quarterbacks, 2 really good O-lines, 1 okay O-line in the Chiefs. I have Crosby on the outside. I got Christian Wilkins on the inside. Tyree Wilson's still a bit of a project, but Graham, you plug him in on the middle, like we're gonna be rushing the passer.
So at 7, with my scenario that Membu's already gone, I'm going to take Tyler Warren because I think that's just, well, Mason Graham is a player. I think he's a huge need in this offense. You know, he can do so many different things. They need that playmaker. He's a perfect like safety valve for Justin Fields too, which he's going to need. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Tyler Warren, right?
Tyler Warren, yeah, yep.
Okay, yeah, I'll go Warren too.
So if in your world, if it's Membu and Warren are both available, you'd go Membu though, right?
I would, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I would too.
Let me try to pull this up real quick. Daniel Jeremiah just dropped his newest mock.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think it's new. I got to pull it up because it's not popping up on NFL Network or their website. Hold on,
I saw an interview he did, and he said it makes a lot of sense for Jets to go offense in round 1. I saw that one interview he did.
Okay, so it's looking like okay, all right, cool. I got it. Let me share my screen real quick, and we can kind of go through this real quick to wrap it up. Let's see. All right, cool. So Cam Ward, number 1,
Mhm.
mock draft 4.0, came out at 8 o'clock, April 23rd, 15 minutes ago. Cam Ward 1, Travis Hunter 2, Abdul Carter 3, Will Campbell 4, Ashton Jency 5,
Yep.
Kelvin Banks,
Whoa.
Raiders at spot number 6, dude.
Look at that. Wait, so what is this comment?
With Genty unavailable, the Raiders. Wait, can you guys see my screen?
I can see it
Okay,
fine.
cool. With Genty unavailable, the Raiders decided to continue building at the line of scrimmage. I would assume Texas coach Steve Sark gave his former boss Pete Carroll a strong recommendation on Banks. With Colton Miller seeking a new contract, Banks gives the Vegas Raiders insurance at left tackle. In the meantime, he could play guard if needed.
Man, that's interesting as hell, huh?
Because man, when I was looking at the Raiders O-line, it's like you have Colton Miller locking down left tackle. You had Glaze at right tackle. They drafted Powers Johnson, who I loved back last season back at Oregon.
Yeah.
And they drafted him, I believe, in round 2. So I guess maybe the Raiders have the same approach as the Jets. According to Jeremiah, Banks was also mocked by McShay to the Raiders too.
Yep, he
So
was.
maybe there's some last minute, info that's coming out, but Banks to the Raiders.
So then in this scenario, Tyler Warren and Membu are available, and he goes Membu.
He does, yeah. He says, I think this pick comes down to Membu versus Tyler Warren for new GM Muji and head coach Glenn. They choose Membu, who slides into the right tackle spot to finish the O-line.
Yep.
You want to keep going? Just quickly sift through it.
Yeah, let's see what else they got.
Mason Graham, 8, Carolina. I think that's a slam dunk pick.
100%.
Michael, my boy from Georgia, at 9. Tyler Warren, Bears.
Oh, that's a great fit there.
Gray Zabel. See, I was thinking Kelvin Banks for the Niners.
Yep.
It's a little too high for me personally. McMillan, Dallas. Trade up with Miami. Denver's coming up for Colson Loveland. So he doesn't say what the compensation is, I don't think. No. Shamar Stewart, Colts.
Oof.
That'd be interesting because they went with Latu last year and Kwity Pace on the roster. Oh, yeah, he talks about it right here.
Yep.
Jalen Walker going all the way down to 15 to Atlanta. Wow. Emeka Ibuka to the Cardinals, dude. See, I think the Cardinals would love Walter Nolan or Mike Green.
Yep.
Donovan Ezaraku to the Bengals, dude. I could see that, but
they need help on defense big time.
Oh yeah, dude. Jackson to the Giants at 18.
Could you imagine? Oh my god! If the Giants they trade for Jackson Dart in the first round. Oh my god!
Especially if they give up future picks, dude. Because if Dart doesn't work out this year and they clean house, and granted, this is like a super pessimistic way to look at it, but if he doesn't work out, you're now out of options for fixing the quarterback next year in the first round as well.
Yeah, and you're going to be fired.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The new regime doesn't even have their choice between the next quarterback.
It's a mess.
Bucks, Matt Golden. I don't really like this one. Just being honest.
Mike Evans is older.
Dolphins, Malachi Starks. Dude, Starks is my favorite player in the draft. I don't want him to go to Miami. Yeah. Or Sanders, Steelers. That'd be crazy. I would be pumped for Sanders, man. I do like Shador.
It's a great fit for him there.
Travion Henderson, Chargers. Max Harrison, Green Bay. I kind of think Harrison's a second rounder, but we'll see. Derek Harmon, Minnesota. Tyler Booker, Houston. I don't really know if, I don't know. Omari and Hampton. Okay, so he has Henderson going ahead of Hampton.
Don't they have Kyron Williams there?
Yeah.
I
don't really know how I would like this one. I don't know.
That's interesting because it's like but you got to figure a lot of these teams, they want that 1-2 punch. Like they're watching what the Lions did. I mean, maybe they're going that approach. I don't know. Or Kyron Williams wants a huge contract. You never know.
I just feel like it's so like early, that's such almost like a luxury.
Yeah.
Like if you're the Rams, and granted the Rams are a great team, but you can just say like, okay, let's go get a corner now and come back in round 3 for a running back if we want that like 2-punch combo.
That's an interesting one.
Kenneth Grant, Baltimore. I love that fit. Donovan Jackson, Detroit. Jahdae Barron, man.
Jeez.
Bro, the range for these players is all over the place.
We're talking about him at 7. He's freaking him at 29.
Bro, there's Raiders fans that want him at 6.
That's
Trey
crazy.
Amos to the Bills. This is picking up a lot of steam. And
Yeah,
Amos freaking pisses me. Like Amos is one of my favorite corners in this class too. Bro, the Bills draft my favorite players every year. And it pisses me off because like I love them in college. Then they get drafted to the Bills. I have to root against them. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's just tough.
No, a good friend of mine's a Bills fan. He's been talking about him for 2 months already.
Amos?
Yep.
Josh Connerly, Chiefs. Makes sense. Jahad Campbell, Philadelphia Eagles.
Nice.
No round 2.
Interesting.
So Jets get our guy here in Membu. Dude, if the Raiders go with freaking Kelvin Banks, man, that'd be nuts.
That's wild. I'm still shocked by that, to be honest with you. I'm telling you, I think Genty's. I'm telling you, Mason Graham's going to fall. The Jets they're going to be stuck between Mason. Well, not stuck, but they have an interesting choice to make.
So you think Membu's going to be gone?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll
see, dude. Bro,
we'll see. But it just seems like the more and more like tackles are like they're so valued now. More and more though, the last 2 weeks you see more and more mock drafts from like insiders saying he's going higher. He's going higher. It's like the Jets may not have him at 7. I kind of feel like the same way where it's especially all these new staffs out there. That Banks Jr. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right, man. Anything else that you wanted to cover?
No, thank everybody for joining us, man. I appreciate it. I love these kind of debates. And the one thing is we're not discounting any players. We're just trying to find the best value and the biggest impact for the Jets. That's all we're looking at. So looking forward to your stream tomorrow night. I can call in and heckle you guys and be like, you guys are terrible.
Cool, man. Yeah, my brother's trying to get off of work for it. So he'll be off of work at some point, but I don't know if he's going to be here for the start of it. But yeah, dude, anyway, I appreciate you hopping on, man. I appreciate everyone hanging out, watching. Really means a lot. And I will see everyone tomorrow. Cannot wait for it, man. Cannot wait for it.